conducting adverse possession, a method of gaining legal title to real property by the actual, open, hostile, and continuous possession of it to the exclusion of its true owner for the period prescribed by state law.
Trespass is an unlawful intrusion that interferes with one's person or property. Initial trespass was any wrongful conduct directly causing injury or loss. In modern law, trespass is an unauthorized entry upon land. A trespass gives the aggrieved party the right to bring a civil lawsuit and collect damages as compensation for the interference or for any harm suffered. Trespass is an intentional tort and in some circumstances can be punished as a crime. In modern law, the word trespass is used most commonly to describe the intentional and wrongful invasion of another's real property. An action for trespass can be maintained by the owner or anyone else who has a lawful right to occupy the real property, such as the owner of an apartment building, a tenant, or a member of a tenant's family. The action can be maintained against anyone who interferes with the right of ownership or possession, whether the invasion is by a person or by something that a person has set in motion. For example, a hunter who enters a field where hunting is forbidden is a trespasser, and so is a company that throws rocks onto a neighbor's land when it is blasting.
You see, I felt desperate when I first entered the house. Let's go, I said to my partner, after sitting around the table brainstorming ways to make a better buck. Our friend from Wyoming was visiting. He's a failed artist. Handmade guitar maker was now making a bundle, flipping houses in Landon. This guy owned 5 properties now and had become a bona fide businessman.
Every unlawful entry onto another's property is trespass, even if no harm is done to the property. A person who has a right to come onto the land may become a trespasser by committing wrongful acts after entry. For example, a mail carrier has a privilege to walk up the sidewalk at a private house, but is not entitled to go through the front door. A person who enters property with permission that stays after he or she has been told to leave also commits a trespass. Moreover, an intruder cannot defend himself in a trespass action by showing that the plaintiff did not have a completely valid legal right to the property. The reason for all of these rules is that the action of trespass exists to prevent breaches of the peace by protecting the quiet possession of real property.
Real property, tangible goods, that's right. Full-on peace of mind. I'm buying mine, why can't you buy yours?
In times past, people built their own homes, grew their own food, made their own clothes. Knowledge of the building crafts and other skills of providing life's basic needs were generally passed along from father to son, mother to daughter, master to apprentice. Then, with industrialization and the population shift from country to cities, this knowledge was put aside and much of it has now been lost. We have seen an era of unprecedented prosperity in America based upon huge amounts of foreign and domestic resources and fueled by finite reserves of stored energy. And as we have come to realize in recent years, we are running out. Materials are scarce, fuel is in short supply, and prices are escalating. To survive, one is going to have to be either rich or resourceful, either more dependent upon or freer from centralized production and controls. The choices are not clear-cut, for these are complex times, but it is obvious that the more we can do for ourselves, the greater will our individual freedom and independence be. This book is not about going off to live in a cave and growing all of one's food. It is not based on the idea that everyone can find an acre in the country or upon a sentimental attachment of the past. It is rather about finding a new and necessary balance in our lives between what can be done by hand and what still must be done by machine. For in times to come, we will have to find a responsive and sensitive balance between the still usable skills and inventions of the 20th century and what was left behind.
Originally, the ownership of land in England could be passed to another only by delivering an actual possession of the land. The present owner passed title to another by picking up a clod of dirt on the land and handing it to another person in front of others in the community. This ceremonial act from ancient times was called lively of Sissin, or delivery of possession. Instead of a clod, a twig or key could be handed over as a symbol of ownership. But only later was it permissible to deliver the symbol of ownership anywhere but on the land itself. As time passed and writing became more common, a written deed could symbolize the delivery of ownership. The purpose of the ceremony was to make the acquiring of land a public act generally known in the community so that disputes were less likely to arise.
Okay, what are you kumbayaing about? Even though she's married to a Brit and has homes in the Hamptons, New York, City, and London, the best coast has drawn Gwyneth Paltrow to Los Angeles. Paltrow's new mansion still references her East Coast roots. Though with chic New England style, the 8,000 square foot Mandeville Canyon home was built as a concept. Windsor Smith designed the entry hall, which runs from the front entrance to the backyard. It's wide enough to serve as a dining room area for entertaining to the grand scale. Those 6 days of the year, which you actually throw a huge dinner party, she said, the floor is from exquisite surfaces, which sources of stone from Peruvian schoolhouse. Smith painted the walls with Benjamin Moore's Revere Pewter Gray. You better use the school for sure. It was destined to crumble.
What are you saying? Where's your commitment to your roots? This private property thing has gotten to your head.
Private property is the cornerstone of the American way. You need to respect to participate. You need to own the real thing to participate.
The bank is right on this one. The root issue is land ownership. Has anyone seen the book called Take Back the Land by Max Rameau? Should be on one of the tables here. Oh, thank you. The root issue is land. Not just land in the physical sense of the word, although that is included, but land in the political sense of the word, meaning power and control over land. Land is an essential element of liberation, an absolute prerequisite. The lack of power and control over land condemns the majority of African, black, people in America to an endless cycle of moving from one undesirable lot to the next, at the behest and for the benefit of the rich. This reality demonstrates how differentiating between surface and root issues brings clarity to our analysis and enables us to gauge process, or the lack thereof. Those who believe that segregation itself was root or fundamental argue forcefully that the struggle is, for all intents and purposes, over. However, those who understand land as root and segregation as symptomatic recognize just how little progress has been made. The same segments of society which confined us to one geographical area and then are able to, with relative ease, force us off of those same geographical areas 50 years later. They are able to do so precisely because, in relation to control over land, the black community has no more power today than we had prior to the civil rights movement. It is easy to see that while much movement has occurred, little tangible progress has been made in dealing with the root issue of power and control over land. To be thorough and fair, it is often argued that there are really two root causes at stake here, both land and racism, or white supremacy, and that ending the root issue of white supremacy would have also ended segregation. While that might be true, the reality is that ending white supremacy and hate in someone else is neither easy nor a substitute for building power for oneself. As such, even if we were willing and able to devote our entire existence and resources towards the task of teaching whites to hate us less, after the successful completion of the mission, we would still have before us the task of building power and control over land. Therefore, the issue of land, more specifically power and collective control over land, is root and primary. Those who benefit from our misery, of course, would rather that we only address the surface issues and then give up on the struggle after making progress on that front. Our mission and objectives must be more substantial, however. Sickness cannot be cured by wiping a runny nose, and liberation cannot be achieved by setting our sights on superficial changes which do not address the root causes of exploitation and oppression. For these reasons and others, it is clear that in order to address the crisis of gentrification and low-income housing in a real way, our responses must be rooted in land-based solutions. The work of Take Back the Land is not fundamentally about the homeless or even gentrification. It is fundamentally about the collective control over land.
The legal theory underlying the vestige of title by adverse possession is that title to land must be certain, since the owner has, by his or her own fault and neglect, failed to protect the land against the hostile actions of the adverse possessor. An adverse possessor who has treated the land as his or her own for a significant period of time is recognized as its new owner.
So in we went. This was easy. House was still in good shape. This was neat. Trundled ahead, was excited that there was a staircase. Mom, let's move in here. I always wanted to live in a house with an upstairs. What a good thing. We live here. We rent our house across the street. Pay off our back mortgage. This is the way to get out of debt. Staking out the place, I still haven't been built. This is what you do to survive. Blended in, okay? Better us moving in there than a bunch of irresponsible landlords.
Once, when I was 12 or 13 and had checked the Lynn's Middletown and Middletown in Transition out of the Sacramento Library, I asked my mother what class we belonged. It's not a word we use, she said. It's not the way we think. On one level, I believe this to be a willful misreading of what even a 12-year-old could see to be the situation, and on another level, I understood it to be true. It was not the way we thought in California. We believed in fresh starts. We believed in good luck. We believed in the miner who scratched together one last stick and struck the Comstock lode. We believed in the wild carter who leased arid land at 2.5 cents an acre and bought in Kettleman Hills, 14 million barrels of crude in its first 3 years. We believed in all the ways that apparently played out possibilities could, while we slept, turn green and golden. Keep California green and golden was the state's Smokey the Bear fire motto around the time I was reading the Linds. Put out your campfire, kill the rattlesnake, and watch the money pour in. And it did. Even if it was somebody else's money.
I just had my home foreclosed on, and I understand a neighborhood is an organism that needs all its parts functioning to operate as a whole. If part left fallow, begins to die off and affects the whole system. A notorious possession seeks to understand its small role bundled with others to form a whole.
Notorious possession is conducted at this location in accordance with the belief that the earth cannot be owned, that humankind as stewards of this planet are entitled to home, and that there is enough room for all living beings.
Oh my gosh, that's hogwash. Why don't you just work real hard, save your money, get a bank loan, buy yourself your own home? That's the way I did it.
Audre Lorde said the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house.
So we walked from room to room, dreaming and planning. I looked a bit closer at the We Can Do It, Rosie the Riveter, light switch plate. Yep, that's talking to me. I'm meant to be here. Then there's a Febreze bottle on the couch. I don't know what to do with that. I looked closely at a cardboard box on the couch. Something was in it. I opened up an already opened end and read the packing slip. It was from crematorium services and was addressed to Patty Gallagher. It was packed. Oh my gosh, it was her ashes in the box.
Careers, civilian opportunities. The New York City Police Department employs more than 17,000 civilians in a variety of exciting, diverse, well-paying careers. For more information regarding civilian employment opportunities, click the links below.
In the U.S., there are 1,477,441 foreclosed homes. That is one in every 886.
Now I need the bell. Fear of radical changes leads many citizens of our nation to betray their minds and hearts. Yet we are all subjected to radical changes every day. We face them by moving through fear. These changes are usually imposed by the status quo. For example, revolutionary new technologies have led us all to accept computers. Our willingness to embrace this unknown shows that we are all capable of confronting fears of radical change, that we can cope. Obviously, it is not in the interest of the conservative status quo to encourage us to confront our collective fear of love. An overall cultural embrace of a love ethic would mean that we would all oppose much of the public policy conservatives condone and support. Society's collective fear of love must be faced if we are to lay claim to a love ethic that can inspire us and give us the courage to make necessary changes. Writing about the changes that must be made, Fromm explains, society must be organized in such a way that man's social, loving nature is not separated from his social existence, but becomes one with it. If it is true that I have tried to show this love is the only sane and satisfactory response to the problem of human existence, then any society which excludes relatively the development of love must in the long run perish of its own contradiction with the basic necessities of human nature. Indeed, to speak of love is not preaching, for the simple reason that it means to speak of the ultimate and real need in every human being. To have faith in the possibility of love as a social and not only exceptional individual phenomenon It is rational faith based on the insight into every nature of man, end quote. Faith enables us to move past fear. We can collectively regain our faith in the transformative power of love by cultivating our courage, the strength to stand up for what we believe in, to be accountable both in word and deed.
Qualifications. 1. 4 years high school experience, diploma or its educational equivalent. 1 year full-time paid experience performing clerical duties or public contract work required obtaining information. Or 30 college credits or 2 years active military duty with honorable discharge. 2. Salary, $32,710 and can increase to $44,379 per annum. 3. New York City resident is required within 90 days of appointment. 4. Entry into higher education positions other than through promotional exams depends on the applicant's prior training, education, and experience and the job requirements for the position.
In California, there are 252,380 foreclosed homes. This is 1 in every 325.
Due to the current civil service list in this title, we are not accepting resumes at this time. First, you should consult your state government officials to see if the standardized test is available for your agency. California's POST agency has posted an exam guide, PDF, for its statewide test, along with a copy of the standardized personal history questionnaire doc. This International Personal Management Association licensed test dispatcher is available here for a fee.
In Los Angeles County, there are 57,660 foreclosed homes. That amounts to 1 in every 370.
The New York City Police Dispatcher test includes 80 questions, multiple choice. The aptitudes test are not communication specific. Rather, they measure general relevant job skills. The passing grade is 70%. The test includes questions on understanding written information, communicating written information to another person, remembering new information, recognizing the existence of a problem, combining separate pieces of information to form a general conclusion, applying general rules to a specific situation, understanding the order in which things should be done, combining information into a meaningful pattern quickly, identifying an object and its surroundings, recognizing where you are in relation to the space you are in, using a map or diagram to get from one position to another, and knowledge and basic geography of New York City, including major roadways and landmarks, bridges, tunnels, parks.
The City of Los Angeles has 9,308 foreclosed properties. This is 1 in every 474 homes are foreclosed.
Richard was our friend. He lived in the back house. That's the back house right there. This is the back house owned by Glenda and Pat. He also worked for Pasadena Unified. He was a special ed teacher. Pat was a dispatcher for the New York Police Department. She had a decent pension, and that floated both her and Glenda for years. Glenda was a librarian at Pasadena Unified until she was laid off a couple of years ago. They managed, too, on the one pension. But once Patty died, Glenda was cut out since they weren't married.
I'm going to read something from The Revolving Door. The Revolving Door from Octavio Paz. Poem. There is a wooden house on the plains of Oklahoma. Each night the house becomes an island in the vaulted sea. Stone fallen from the skies of fables, polished by glances of Glenda's voice and lit by Patty's eyes. The stone turns slowly in the shadows, It is a sunflower and it burns. A cat, a native of Saturn, crosses the walls and vanishes in the pages of the book. Grass turns to night. Night turns to sand. Sand turns to water. Glenda and Patty, then architectures, cubes of echoes, weightless forms. Some they call poems. Others drawings, others conversations with friends from Milega, Mexico, and other planets. These forms walk and have no feet. They see and have no eyes. They speak and have no mouth. The sunflower turns and doesn't move. The island lights up and goes out. The stone flowers. Night shuts. The sky opens. Dawn dampens the eyelids of the plain.
Richard was a big help to us when we first moved in. He asked us to mow the lawn and let us know when our neighbors, Glenda and Pat, were grumbling about the scrubby grasses growing. He loaned us his lawnmower, but it broke. Then we bought his weed whacker, which we still use to this day. His daughter, Brenna, used to babysit Nico often. One day he came over and explained to us that Glenda never indicated to him that she was going to leave. It didn't make sense to him. Why would she leave? That house was paid in full. I ended up being the lucky one to catch her as she was waddling around in the street trying to catch her bird dogs one day. It was her relatives from Kentucky that were loading up the house. She was moving back home. I didn't ask much since I knew she had the towing company on speed dial and was scared.
And every 319 homes are foreclosed properties in Glassell Park. That is this neighborhood right here, where you are tonight.
Can I have the Hannah Arendt book here? Although the distinction between private and public coincides with the opposition of necessity and freedom, of utility and permanence, and finally of shame and honor, it is by no means true that only the necessary, the futile, and the shameful have their proper place in the private realm. Most elementary meaning of the two realms indicates that there are things that need to be hidden, and others that need to be displayed publicly if they are to exist at all. If we look at these things, regardless of where we find them in any given civilization, we shall see that each human activity points to its proper location in the world. Also, we no longer think primarily of deprivation when we use the word privacy. And this is partially due to the enormous enrichment of the private sphere through modern individualism, i.e. the stuff we collect.
Richard said he wasn't cashing his rent checks. He was starting to feel concerned about his own vulnerability. He didn't want to lose his housing involuntarily. We told him to call her, find out what was up. He did, and a few days later, with an update that she got her leg amputated. Richard said he was going to leave. He was going to move in with his girlfriend. And he left a lot of stuff behind, and Glenda did cash the checks eventually. We had a realtor friend look into the particulars of the house a bit. We decided we could afford to pay the outstanding taxes. We prepared ourselves to pay them, to take the ownership. We mowed the lawn, did some plumbing, tidied things up. Then our realtor friend emailed and said that he found that Glenda took out a $250,000 mortgage on the house. She owed the bank lots of money, and they were going to come together.
So, what happened to Glenda?
Gone, gone, gone. She's in Kentucky. She got away.
Gone. She is in Kentucky. She has got away.
Gone, gone, gone. She went to Kentucky. She got away.
Gone. Gone, gone. She's in Kentucky. That girl got away.
Dinner will be served shortly.
So you want to rip It's coming where? We're going to try it out for a weekend. Yeah. Nice person? It's like wine and yes, I'm going to. How was that? You're in Toronto, right? Thank you.